You've been very busy. I think this morning you were at BGF as well. Yeah, I was with the Gladians. They had a summit and I had to give a speech there. So I could not be at BGF. Summit, yes. Yeah. Gladians, yeah. Yeah, okay, yes. I think it has to be a bit closer, yeah. Okay.
Yes, I think we shall get started. You've been very patient. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we would like to apologize for the delay in starting because there was a miscommunication in the communication. Okay. And thank you so much for attending, and thank you to Professor Dato Sri Dr. Victor Wee, and also to Bhante Dr. G. Chandima for being here as moderator and panelist for this evening's dialogue session. Now, this dialogue session was started last year. It's a brainchild of Bhante Chandima, when we thought, okay, it'll be a good idea to have this kind of a one-on-one between some learned monks. First, we started with some learned monks, and now we have moved on to lay people as well. So tonight's session, dialogue session, basically talks about practicing the 5 precepts in modern living or daily living. How do we put the 5 precepts to practice? And so we have with us our moderator, Professor Dato Sri Dr. Victor Wee. I think most of you know him. I think all of you know him. That's why you're here as well. But anyway, let me just read Professor's profile. Professor Dato Sri Dr. Victor Wee is the former president and a founding member of the BGF, or the Buddhist Jam Fellowship. He has taught Dhamma in Malaysia and Singapore and has spoken at many Buddhist conferences. He has also led the Metta meditation at the BGF since 1997. As a matter of fact, he started his Dhammadutta work from Buddhist Mahavihara, so we are taking him as a brother. As an accomplished musician, he has composed many Dhamma songs in English and recorded 5 albums with the Wayfarers. If you remember, many, many years ago, and I think they still exist, but I remember about in the 1970s, Wayfarers was very popular because they came up with a lot of Buddhist hymns, English Buddhist hymns, and we actually use them in our pujas as well. He's currently a professor at the Taylor's University here in KL, and he was also the former Secretary General of the Ministry of Tourism, Malaysia, and has also served as the chairman of the Malaysian Tourism Promotions Board. He was also chairman of the program committee of the United Nations World Tourism Organization, and he has also worked as a senior director at the EPU, the Economic Planning Unit, the Prime Minister's Department, and advisor to the Ministry of Finance. Dr. Wee obtained his Bachelor of Economics at the University of Malaya, a Masters of Arts at Brown University in the US, and a PhD in Economics at Bristol University, UK. For his distinguished career in the Malaysian Civil Service, he has been awarded 2 titles, that is Dato and Dato Sri from the Agong, and a Dato from the state of Malacca. So we are very proud to have Dato Sri Victor Wee, one of our brothers here this evening, to moderate this session. And of course, we have our panelists, who's also very well known now. I think, and I think I've read this profile so many times. You've already heard this profile, but never mind. I have to read this. It's to be fair to Bhante. I'll make it short. So I asked Bhante to give me a new profile because we've been reading his old profile. So this is an updated version of the profile. Yeah. So Bhante Dr. Chandima is an associate editor of the Journal of International Buddhist Studies at the Buddhist Research Institute of the Maha Chulalongkorn Raja Vidyalaya, it's a mouthful, University in Thailand. His research basically focuses on Theravada Suttas, Abhidhamma, and Buddhist ethics. He was formerly a research fellow at the Center for Studies in Religion and Society at the University of Victoria in Canada. His most recent article, The Function and Contemporary Role of Sikkapacayana, Abandoning the Training Rules in the Pali Canon, was published in the Journal of Buddhist Ethics under the Pennsylvania State University Press in the US. And Bhante manages, you can access all his work at his blog called Patisotta. And Patisotta was ranked 58th globally in the 100 best Buddhist blogs and websites for 2024, done by FeedSpot. So congratulations, Bhante, and to Patisotta for this achievement. So we will start this evening's dialogue, and I will now hand the mic over to Professor Dato Sri Dr. Victor Wee to moderate this evening's session. Doctor?
Thank you very much, Brother Leslie. It's so wonderful to be back in this temple, and this is where I spent many years together studying under Venerable Keshri Dhammananda, and learn a lot from him. Every Friday we'll be here listening to his talk, and at other times as well. And it's good to be here again. So this evening we have the pleasure of Bhante Dr. Chandima, and something very important for us, because the topic is practicing the 5 precepts in modern living. Now basically, who is a Buddhist? And how can we distinguish a Buddhist from a non-Buddhist? So basically, if you're a Buddhist, it means that you accept the Buddha as an enlightened teacher. That's number one. Right? Number two, you go to the 3 refuges, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, as your refuge, as your protection, and you observe the 5 precepts. And that is why in the ceremonies that we have the Namaskara, Namo Tassa, all of us do that, right? And Tisarana, Buddhang Saranang Gacchami, right? And also the Panchasila. And this means that it reaffirms us as a person following the path outlined by the Buddha. Now, the 5 precepts are basically the ethical guidelines for Buddhist practitioners. Yeah? And the teachings of the Buddha, we can summarize it by saying it is to avoid evil, do good, and purify the mind. So 5 precepts refers to the first, avoid evil. Of course, there is the positive aspect of the precepts, like avoid killing, you want to cultivate loving kindness and all. That would be like doing good. That's the second part, okay? So this is really avoiding evil, and the purpose of it is for us to develop moral discipline, that is to strengthen our sila, to create good karma, so that we don't perform negative karma by breaking the precepts, and also preparing the mind for higher spiritual development. But we are living in this modern world, and there are many challenges to us if you want to practice the 5 precepts. In fact, some of these challenges that are present right now are not the kind of challenges during the Buddha's time. But however, we might also say that it is a difference only in form, but not in principle, because in principle it remains the same. 2,500 years ago, when the Buddha propounded his teachings, the basic principle still remains. It's still valid today because of the timelessness of the Buddha's teachings. But of course, living a modern life right now, we face so many challenges. And in fact, things are moving so fast, and we're given so many distractions. In fact, we can say that the Buddha's teachings are even now much more relevant right now for us to maintain a sense of balance, for us to have mental harmony, and to have sanity living in this world. So this evening, we were very fortunate to have with us Bhante Dr. Chandima. He is a distinguished Buddhist scholar and a much respected speaker to share his views with us. And he's been very active in, just to follow him, just to make an appointment with Bhante is not so easy. Because last he was in Langkawi, and I saw him sitting in Dr. Chong's dental clinic. Yeah. So, Bhante moves around. But it is really wonderful to have a speaker like Bhante in order to elucidate, to make clear certain things that we like to ask. And Bhante, we understand that the precepts are not commandments, yeah? But the training rules are something that we take voluntarily. Can you please make us understand the difference between the 5 precepts and the commandments that is found in the Abrahamic religions such as Judaism, Christianity, and also Islam? Maybe just explain to us what is the meaning of Sikkhapada. When we chant the 5 precepts, we say Sikkhapada. Can you please explain to us?
First of all, a very good evening to all of you. Dato, Dr. Sri Victor V, and Brother Leslie, and everybody who gathered here this evening to listen to us, not just to me, listen to us. And the first question, thank you for choosing the topic. You're putting kind of a narrative that I chose the topic and he chose the topic. So interestingly, yeah. And I know that it's very relevant, especially when it is suffixed by in modern living, but we are heading that way. So in order to answer the question, first of all, we need to understand what is Sila and how does it relate to our spiritual life. In my understanding, there are issues with regard to the translation part. Now, Sila is always translated by many as a training rule or maybe a precept. But when you look at the Pali context, we understand Sila is more likely a self-disciplinary action. That means you are the one who is imposing on you about it. Not that other people are saying that you are subject to rules, actually. So, Sila is more likely what we call discipline. And when it comes to Sikkhapada, it's going to be the activity, how to become a disciplined person. Sikkhapada. So, pada means accomplishment. Accomplishment of that discipline with regard to different areas, not killing, not stealing, so on and so forth. So to start with answering the question, you brought up the word called commandments. I'm not going to actually discuss about other religions, which I normally don't do. But let's look at the English word commandment. Commandment is somebody's commandment. That means somebody has divinely commanded somebody that, it's a divine authority. If you say, for instance, other religious traditions, Abrahamic traditions, there's somebody who is making the connection between the normal people and the God, like a prophet. So at that point, what we understand is commandment is something that somebody gives us, and then there is this divine authoritative something. But Sila, the quality of that activity, and then how you are going to engage in that activity called Sikkhapada, they are not commandments. They are not somebody's authoritative, autocratic, dictator kind of activities. They are self-imposement, that I want to become a disciplined person. So that's the major thing. But if you look at the commandments, the major 10 commandments that could vary between XYZ religions, you can see that they are covering a vast area. They say respecting mother and father is part of the Sila. But in Buddhism, it's not a Sila. It is part of the Noble Eightfold Path, which comes under the Panya. You see Samma Ditti in the Noble Eightfold Path. That is where Buddha asks us to treat mother is a special person, father is a special person. So it has to be done from a certain level of wisdom. And if you take something like, do not put anybody before me as the God. If you take that kind of an idea, and Buddha is saying that don't put me like that, all the Buddhas are saying the same thing. I only found out that path, which was followed by other Buddhas, and then idolatry. So there are differences. Basically, differences go by the context. The first one is that our Sila, especially Sikkhapada, whatever the things that we are supposed to practice to self-discipline, they are not somebody's commandments. Actually, Pancha Sila, we call it 5 precepts, it was not given by the Buddha. It was given by long time ago by those ascetics. So Buddha's innovation is 10 kusala. So what the Buddha did was, he just kept it going. And he said, if somebody wants to become a follower of Buddha, you need to be a upasaka. If that person is a man, upasaka, female upasika. And then after taking the 3 refuge, then following the 5 precepts. So definitely, they were self-imposed disciplinary activities. So they are not commandments. So we all have freedom to practice them. That is what I can add to that point.
Which is quite interesting, because in commandments, if you don't observe that, you are going to be punished. You could be, you have created. This crackers. It's not from the mic.
Happiness. Happiness.
So you would have created sin. You would have sinned, and as a result of sin, there is a problem of being sent to hell because of that. And sometimes you observe that without even quite understanding what it is, because it's a commandment, it's a rule given to you which you have to follow. In the case, what Bhante is saying is, and there's understanding of 5 precepts is something that we agree to follow, because we think it prevents us from doing something negative, creating bad karma. And especially if you understand Dhamma more, you understand karma more, then you actually realize that all this training is really good for you. It is for you to adopt, for you to practice. It's a way of training yourself, like the way people go to gym and spend the time doing the push-ups and the dumbbells. Of course, you sweat it out, the muscles will ache, but you think, well, it's good for my muscles. So maybe Sikapada could be seen within that kind of context.
True, very true. Yes, and there is no surprise for us to think that punishments and rewards are given by somebody. It is because those particular set of things, they were given divinely. So, in contrast to the 5 precepts. So, none of the disciplinary activities, I would say, sila or vinaya for the monks and nuns, they are not divinely given. They were what you call laid down by the Buddha at certain point, Vinaya, but Sila, it was a self-imposed activity just to make us more disciplined.
Yeah, and it's better with understanding, because if you understand the situation, then you think, oh, okay, it's good for me to observe this process because it's for my own good.
Yeah,
it's not
definitely.
because the Buddha has asked me to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Bhante, now just moving on to the second question, observing the 5 precepts in modern life, we have many challenges. The first group of challenges will be professional life challenges. Sometimes we might work in industries that indirectly harm living beings. For instance, industrial farming, and the way they rear chickens for slaughter, right? And fishing, factory farming, or even getting involved in construction works and logging that destroys the natural environment. And sometimes we might also be involved in industries creating significant pollution. Sometimes no deaths yet, but eventually it leads to the deterioration of the environment, or even like chemical manufacturing that harms the ecosystem, or even plastic. Plastic is really bad for marine health. How are these professions connected with the first precept? If no deaths occur immediately, but it has damaging effects in the long run, would it still be breaking the first precept? How about the person who is engaged in industries that, in these industries, he cannot change his job, but he still wants to maintain a Buddhist way of life? What can he do?
I think what we need to understand when we practice Sila is that we cannot become very perfect in Sila, because there are changes that are coming time to time. Now, say for instance, the first issue that you said under the professional, what was that?
Farming.
Farming. Now, farming has become industrial, right? It was not the farming that we saw at that time. Now, you know that because of the industrial farming, sometimes the food chains have been not existing anymore. Now, there are no snakes in the paddy fields anymore, right? Because of the fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides. On the other hand, the problem is that farmers have to meet the demand of the market.
Yeah.
So next day they have to fill the shelves in the particular grocery shop. So there are things happening like these are new conditions. They were not apparent to the Buddha's time, right? Probably even you take the meat industry. Now meat industry has been very automated compared to that time. At that time there was a butcher, there was somebody who was doing that, and then there were many people involved in that industry. But now most of them may be automated, probably outsourced, probably they have been done by one person, maybe one company. So things have become smart and easier. So the problem is how to keep our good qualities, especially these, if we go by the precepts, how to keep the panadipata. So we have to understand how not to, nullify, how not to break our good thinking in terms of that. Say for instance, companies, they have a different view, but people have their own thinking, what to do. Let's say there might be a devotee over here who might be a part of maybe a meat shop. How do I practice Buddhism? So now we have to tell, according to your question, we have to say either that job is a good job or a bad job. So we cannot say like that. Now today in this discussion, we cannot decide someone's job is good or bad. Rather, I ask you to think about, with all the new conditions, how to at least improve your understanding and your activity in terms of not breaking it. Now, panatipata doesn't mean that you are going to be a part of a butcher shop, maybe a meat company. Let's say even you're going beyond that, becoming a soldier. You may have to sometimes shoot the terrorists in the war, maybe becoming a police officer. Why can a Buddhist person not become a soldier,
or
not become a police
even a
officer?
judge sending a person to death sentence?
Yes,
yeah?
but that is really clear. It is said that even a judge cannot make a sentence with that malicious thought.
Yeah.
Judge has to do it according as per the provisions given in the law.
In the law.
It's clear. In the law, it's clear. No judge cannot do anything with that malicious thinking. But when it comes to, then let's take the same narrative to somebody who is farmers. A lot of farmers were Buddhists at that time. And we understand in many suttas, remember the retreat we did, we chanted a sutta called Kasi Bharadwaj. He was a farmer, right? So the thing is that there are certain ethical parameters some people can practice. Let's say there is someone who doesn't need to work in a farming job, who is doing a different job, who is not on the surface level creating lots of mess out of this first precept. He or she can be a good person in that way. But not many people are blessed enough to work like that. So I think when you are making a choice to work, you can make that decision. At the same time, you can understand whether you have the intention to do that. Intention, volition, they are more important. Right? So if you don't have the volition, if you don't have the intention, then you should be good. I think we can discuss other activities too.
Yeah.
Farming is one thing.
Yeah, sometimes you could be a brilliant chemist working in Monsanto, for instance, doing research on the pesticides, right? So brilliant, you're paid well, and that's a job. But eventually that pesticide is being used to kill not only insects, later on having an effect on the human life.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, probably that scientists might be involving in the lab experience to save millions of people. Somebody who found out metformin, maybe using the guinea pigs as rats or cockroaches, might have thought that my intention is to save millions of people out there, right? But there are people, even I have met people, some devotees, they are very regretting about their lab experiences. Now they are learning a lot of Buddhism. Now they are very, why did I join the lab at that time? I think I hate my scientific job at that time. But now they are in late 50s, right? But I think even at that point, I told those people, don't worry, because your intention was to save many humans and other beings too. But it is good if there are more testing coming without harming animals. If scientists could do it not by harming them, it's much better. But still, I think there are still discussions going on about it. No testing on animals. I think it's a different narrative nowadays. This particular product was not tested on animals. So I think companies can think about, innovate different concept. But anyways, those people who have involved in the lab activities, by probably having to kill those tiny creatures, you could think about, you had done it. I'm not trying to justify, you go ahead and keep doing it. But you can see it from a different angle. But I hope these industries will innovate new ways to, find out there, maybe test their new drugs and all these things, even products, other things.
Maybe also going on organic farming, just making use of.
If it is possible,
So
yes.
you don't use pesticides and all
Yes.
that, yeah.
So we have to save two kind of people here. One is the sick people, on the other hand, the animals. It's a tough thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a very tough thing. So that's why more innovations must come in the future.
I have a question on the technology adoption, right? Because these days we use technology. Now we are exposed to digital entertainment, which involves virtual violence in many forms. You watch movies. For the movies to be really exciting, there's violence, cars overturned, shooting of people, Rambo, you've seen Rambo movies, and also computer games. In fact, computer games now involve what you call first shooter games. They simulate a kind of warfare, and so you become the guy shooting people, and the more people you shoot, the more points you get, all right? So, and they are also virtual realistic using AI, where they could actually simulate combat and even virtual torture scenarios. And if the mind is being exposed to all this, you become less sensitive to suffering, and your mind is inclined towards aggression. And this is what people are being faced with. With a computer over a handphone, it is very easy for people to get access to, for instance, pornographic materials. Even kids are able to access this kind of materials, and they can be addicted to social media and digital content. How can a person maintain his or her spiritual practice when there's an overwhelming presence and exposure to virtual violence and social media addiction?
I like the way you put in the question. I think we have become the victim of our own certain areas of success. This is what is happening. But I think this mentality didn't come from the games initially. When we look at the Hollywood movies at that time, not during the computer time, probably maybe your time, maybe perhaps. So when people get to watch these movies, we're not putting blame on the Hollywood movies. Now there are many books coming all over. So people would like to follow the people as role models. Probably life changes, probably other changes. But now, these, what you call revolutionizing tech industries have innovated differently. Now, even the games and all that. But I think the most important thing is that now even if you take a computer, laptop, even a game, they also bringing certain safety tools for the parent. Now say for instance a game, I don't think many adults play the game. Mostly there are certain ages, they play the games. If, as you said, the first shoot experience, I understand this might be a teenager, right? Might be a teenager. So
Even
I mean,
adults, Bhante.
even adults at a certain point.
They get addicted to it.
But maybe if you look at the first experience,
Yes.
maybe that person could have got it at that young time, very maybe small time. I think then we have to discuss about parenting, how to parent in the digital age, how to parent in this 21st century. What do you do for your children? Are you going to raise your children like your elders? like your grandparents. You can't do that. Now, say for instance, even the Wi-Fi network, today, they have the parent control. That means parents can do certain safety features. And parents, more than technical stuff, parents can get closer to their children in order to give compassion, kindness, and all these things, rather than demonizing all the technological gadgets. Now, we do that. We do. Facebook is a problem, Twitter is a problem. No, there's no Twitter anymore, X anymore. And then this is a problem. So my understanding is that the harm that we are looking at through the technology or social media or game industry, we can minimize if we look at certain scenarios of that harm. If it is a shooting thing, say for instance, when the Delta Force came, those games where those government forces and terrorists are going to, somebody's operating, I asked a question from the audience in Canada at that time. And you guys are killing, shooting all these forces. Don't worry. When we end the game, they are coming back. Right? Don't worry, Bhante. They are coming back. Yeah, they are coming back. I mean, that means they understand it differently. But they do understand. But the thing is that the motivation to play a shooting game, and not even a shooting game, another game, could have been stopped by instilling in that mind some kind of Buddhist qualities by relevant people, maybe parents and that the association. So we could do certain things. And if it is a certain addiction by the adults, then I think we can look at, we have to specifically take the specific scenarios of those adults. Now take for instance the gun shootings happening in the US, many years. And the issues why the child is picking up the mother's handgun. Why somebody is going to secretly take father's AK-47. Why is it? There are other problems. It's not the AK-47 itself. It's not the handgun itself. It is because that particular child is poorly parented. That child lost the attention from the mother and father. Whatever happens, whatever the gadgets they are innovating, I think we can do a certain role if they are properly, informed. So I think if we are able to understand the emotional quality, health of many people around us, if you are parents, your children, if you are husband and wife, your better half, relatives, teachers, right, in a school, I think we can minimize these things. Now what happens if the country, the people of the country, majority of the people in the country has guns? 2,000 people don't have guns. Who is protected out of these people? Majority is carrying guns. Only a small number of people don't carry guns. Whose life is in jeopardy? So then I think this problem has to be discussed from the country itself, country context, from the culture context. So my understanding is, as somebody who is outspoken about Buddhism, we can get closer to many people. We don't do that. I think we have to discuss another very interesting area. With the gadgets, what's happening is that we are going to distance from each other. We have digital friends from here in America, but we don't have friends in our kampung, here, in our city. That is the problem here. I think we think that I can just say hi and bye to that person at the end of the day, but we don't do that. And then I think that thing has to be discussed. With the gadgets, we are forgetting about the people who are nearby and thinking about the other person in the other corner of the world. Right? So I think that is also important, to have the connection from someone like that. And also we need to keep the good connection with those ones who are nearby, who are with us in our daily life. So I think violence with regard to the gadgets can be minimized. It's a new experience to many people by understanding their minds and also doing our part. As a Buddhist monk, I do my part. As a loving father, you do your part. Somebody, they do their part. So I think then this is going to be a cooperative spiritual experience. Nowadays, These schools talk about mindfulness, kindness. Kindness is the most important thing that is losing in the world now, not the wisdom. A lot of people have access to internet, books, Tripitaka, Sutta, everything. But what's happening is that you are going to be a so-called wise person without a kind heart. Right? So I think if we try to fix these things, then I think we can avoid, we can, I hope that minimize lots of events of many culprits who are becoming addicted. And say, for instance, why some people are getting addicted to these gadgets? They don't get the love that they are supposed to get in their family, in the house. Look at those kids in the house. Parents don't even check upon them, what they are doing. They are doing their own things. Mother is with the handphone in her own world, father is in his own world, and children look at them and they are not looking at us, and they are going to their world. And then this separation is happening. I think we have to fix those issues first. And then whatever the gadgets there be, no problem.
Okay, so
we look at that way.
Yes.
Rather than demonizing gadgets and media, because I think these technological gadgets are very important nowadays. Because like somebody said in Japan to me that Chivara Pindapata Senasana Gilana Pache, the 4 requisite. Now you have to give Wi-Fi to the monks, the 5th requisite. Because every monk comes to the temple asking, Bhante, what is the Wi-Fi password? It's good because they have to do their Dhamma work, right? Zoom meetings and all that.
Yeah.
So I think Buddha didn't talk about these things, but we have to understand implied stuff.
Yes. So like parents, in the case of children who get addicted to spending too much time on the computer instead of studying. So parents itself must develop alternative strategies like limiting the time, limiting the kind of materials that they can watch. And we would also understand the mindset of people and maybe give them very good values. And some of these issues are actually country related. Then we need to have strategies for the country later. I think it was Australia that thinks about introducing a law to prevent people below 16 from some kinds of social media, because they have come to the conclusion that this social media is really harmful for young people. So they want to have an act of a law in order to limit people of certain age getting access to social media.
I think everyone should be given a certain censorship in a good way.
Yeah.
When you go to some countries, if you go to Middle East, you don't have access to certain social media. If you go to another country in East Asia, they don't have it. There may be government activities. But I think we have to give the training for everybody to, especially teenagers and others, how to use the gadgets. How to use them wise, not that taking them away. Because nowadays when children are crying a lot, what father and mother just give the phone to the child. Okay, there's no more crying anymore.
They start at a very
This
young
is the easiest
age.
way. So the child also knows how to demand. Right? Right? He or she is demanding until he or she is given the phone. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They start very young. They know their way around the iPad.
Yes.
They don't get the iPad, they cry. And parents keep them entertained by giving them an iPad. They watch cartoons and other materials.
Yes.
Yeah. Bhante, I have another question, and this relates to the 3rd precepts. And because of urbanization and the breakdown of living in extended families now, many single adults actually choose to live as couples without being legally married. Okay, so in some religions, you need to be married because marriage has made them happen, and you cannot even divorce. All right, so the Buddhist point of view of couples living together, not wanting to get married, sometimes they might even have children, and then also there are the presence of dating apps where people can look for partners using apps, and then they get together. So it's a kind of a very casual relationship. And the 3rd question relating to the 3rd precept is that what is the Buddhist view of the same-sex relationship? Because now even countries have passed laws to recognize partners, marriage, same-sex partners, and these LGBT rights. Yeah. So what is the Buddhist view about this?
Very interesting. Uh, yeah. I think what you call relationship norms have evolved, right? It's not what we see in the Buddha's time. And perhaps Buddha's time had some really bizarre relationships too. Now, say for instance, kings, they had monogamy, polygamy, they had polygamy. And Buddha has never talked about this polygamy of King Kosala, right? And even you see kings and these royal people, they had that at that time. And then at the same time, in the suttas like Parabhava Sutta and all these suttas, Buddha says that it's better to love one person and then to keep that connection. But what we understand is over time things have changed. Even this, what you call marriage norms, right? So there may be people, I'm looking at from a practical perspective, there may be people who really love each other, but they can't go for a marriage for whatever the reason. So we have to understand these things in the modern world. This is one thing. Another problem might be other different conditions that might have caused over the time. But we have to look at it. Did the Buddha ask couples to marry? Where is it mentioned? I ask back. Where is it mentioned? No. Buddha only asked, if you are in a relationship, don't cheat.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. There's no problem with that. So, and Buddha has not explained about different sexual behaviors as well. He has not talked about one-night stands and dating apps and all these things. He has not talked about these things. But what he has talked about, never step over to other people's relationships, never cheat on your person who you loving. Those two things are said by the Buddha. So that is something I understand. If you go to the Philippines, they don't encourage divorce. You can't even divorce in public. People do that. Right? You can't stop it. So what we understand is that the answer is that relationship norms have evolved. We have to accept that. And different countries have their different ways of looking at it. But what is the traditional marriage? The Western narrative has evolved. But now there are different narratives going on. There's a woman on internet, I think you may have watched her videos, trad wife movement. She is promoting traditional wife movement. All the traditional gents, you are happy, huh? And then she is proposing, espousing this traditional wife movement. Many women in the Western world like her, US women. So, on the other hand, many others don't like her. They have their own ways of going for different things. But the problem here is that whether you really love the person you are with or you are changing, that is a problem. And whether you are cheating on that person or whether you are stepping over to many others' relationships, whether you are breaking other people's relationships. So these are problems. On the other hand, the last part of your question, LGBTQ thing, Buddha has, as I said, Buddha has never identified different sexual behaviors, right? So then we cannot find an answer for that.
Yeah, it doesn't arise.
So I'm on the safer side. So there's no place to find out that. Yes.
So the Buddhist attitude is that when it comes to having partners and all that, you need to be faithful to your partner because unfaithfulness creates a lot of pain and suffering. And if a person is married and with children, being unfaithful could lead to the breakup of the family, and everybody suffers. The partner suffers, the children suffers. So the Buddha really wants people to be sincere, to have a sense of contentment to your loved ones. So that is basically it, without saying, oh, you need to be married, because that is defined by society. In some societies, you would have to be married, and even the marriage also takes many conditions. So if a person were to live together, if a couple were to live together and they're faithful to each other, that is, I think even in India there is. I remember that Patachara ran away and with a gardener, right? And I think in India, if a person were to live together like that, they are actually considered to be de facto husbands and wives. I think in the Western society,
Yeah,
increasingly it's going to be it's accepted as as partners, and they even have claims on each other's property if.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Now, in the West, from the Canadian perspective, I understand that not people directly go to a marriage. They live in together for at least 6, 7, 8, 9 years. And then government understand this is a common law relationship, and they take it as a marriage. So because it is due to the country's financial activity. Now, if you go to a Canadian library, there are a lot of books, how to break up peacefully. How to make your divorce peacefully. I borrowed one book like that one day to read what is this book about, right? So because the thing is that relationship status are embedded with the financial status in that part of the world. That's why this is happening. And plus, if there is a divorce, then how is the inheritance going to work out after that? So people are scared to take that risk. Directly go to that, but there are traditional people too. So my understanding is that as relationship narratives norms have evolved, what you need to understand in the modern living is that it is good if you could find this traditional person, good person in one step, but not everybody is able to make it happen. So you understand how things are going to work out in your life. Because everyone is having their own life. But what I understand is that if you are receiving someone's love in a relationship, in a marriage, that is good for your spiritual journey. Because that person can be a kalyana mitra rather than becoming a single person. Right? Because it's good. Otherwise you will feel in your late years, you are lonely, you are isolated. Right? Rather than you finding kalyana mitras in the center, in the Buddhist center, in the vihara. Right? So it's better. I think it's interesting to have someone because like Nakula Mata, Nakula Pita.
Yes.
Let me reiterate about them. Now Nakula Mata, Nakula Pita is the perfect example of a Buddhist relationship. Here in this vihara, I have been discussing the sutta discussions on Mondays, and we discuss about them. It is said that when they become 80 years old, Buddha went to their house. Buddha went to Sunsumaragiri area. Sunsumaragiri means, I think you know the place that they given the name because when the city was building at that time, there was a crocodile made a sound. Sunsumara is crocodile. In Pali we call Sunsumara is crocodile. Right? So they put the city's name as Sunsumaragiri. Okay. Right? So when Buddha went to that city, he went to their house. Why he went to their house? It is not abnormal because this couple was the parents to Shakyamuni Buddha for 500 lifetimes. So they are not new people to him. Okay. So he knows that they understand him. So he went to their house, 80 years old, Nakula Mata, Nakula Pita. Nakula Pita came up and said to the Buddha after respecting, Bhante, I have married her when we were 20 years old. We've been in this marriage for 60 years. Ever since I brought her from her parents' house, there was no single thought about another woman that came up to me for these 60 years.
Wow.
What you decide who that man is, huh? With your own thoughts. And then he said to the Buddha, Bhante, I want to be reborn with her.
Yeah, okay.
I want to be with her in the next life. Is it possible? And then Nakula Mata came up, and she also said, ever since I came with him, there was no single thought that came to my mind about another man. And it's been like almost 60 years at this point. I also want to be reborn with her. What did the Buddha say? Everything is anicca. It's too bad, You don't know where you're going heading now. Yes. Buddha said, good idea, it's possible. If both of you have practiced 4 qualities together at the same level. Interesting. If both of you have practiced 4 qualities at the same level. It is not saddha, samasaddha, equal trust. Not trust, equal trust. It's not sila, samasila, equal sila. It's not chaga, generosity, it's equal generosity. It's not panya, wisdom, it's equal wisdom, samapanya. What does it mean? What is the sila for a couple? Kamisu michachara. That means their sila is kamisu michachara. If both of them don't understand each other, don't communicate, then what is that sila? They can't do any sila. So good communication, understanding each other, compromising must happen. You may have to compromise. Otherwise, you can't go together. You will derail from the path. Right? Definitely. So, sila to a couple is understanding each other, and then there is no insecurity, even at the very least. They know each other very well. But, although they know each other, both should not mess up. Right? Just because she knows me, he knows me, don't mess up. Right? Second thing is samasila, samasaddha. That is, again, more understanding. The first one is not cheating. The second one is understanding. Samachaga. Both are equally generous. Not that husband is generous, wife is very greedy. It can happen, if you know, when you come to the vihara sometime. Hey, don't give it, too much.
Quarrel about giving too much.
Why don't you come together? Not husband is giving the donation. Hey, give, you donate. He is asking the wife to give. That part is so nice. Samachaga and samapanya, wisdom. It's not wisdom you attain at Nibbana. Wisdom means you are able to think more than the knowledge, more than this rational understanding. So then the Buddha said, then it is possible. Now, who are these two people? Are they normal people? No, they are sotapanna. A sotapanna couple wants to be reborn again in the next life. Very interesting. How about you? You are going to become a sotapanna by becoming a monk or nun. Right? You want to leave the house to become a sotapanna, but they were sotapannas. Right? So what we have to understand is the Buddha's understanding about, Buddha's idea about a marriage, a relationship. But he said was that when you have the right person in your life, your spiritual life is going to be successful. It doesn't mean if you cannot find, your life is going to be going down on a slippery slope. But it is nice, it is very good if you have the right person. I think that's a blessing.
It's perfectly matched. And each supporting each other in their spiritual practice.
I don't know whether there is a perfect matching, but at least you can work with them, at least. But there may be some perfect, good, more than the levels. At least you can really, somebody will understand you and then help out and then each other going.
A true companion,
Yes.
Spiritual friends,
Spiritual.
So that's the ideal
Yes.
for couples. Good, very good. Now, Bhante, I've got a question about, this is probably connected with the fourth precept. These days, I think even in the past, that we like to present ourselves in a positive light. And even more right now, because you have the social media, and there's almost a social pressure to present an enhanced picture of yourself. And this could actually be like white lies in social media. And it's, so sometimes people in the states of depression, they're really depressed. And what Bhante was saying, that sometimes they have friends, virtual friends everywhere, but actually in their life they get isolated because they don't have any friends to talk to. Human friends, people around them, but virtually they're connected. So sometimes they're very depressed, but in the Facebook they show, wow, they're having a good time and enjoying themselves. So this is almost like very common amongst people. Or sometimes when you work in a company, you are almost obligated to put up speak well about your company, right? You don't run down your company. And sometimes it could mean you bend the truth a little bit in order to show a positive side of either yourself or your company. The person might not actually be lying, but he's bending the truth. How do we see this situation in the light of the fourth precept?
There was one man I met long time ago, and when you ask questions from him, his expression was, ask me no question, so I won't tell you lies. That's a very smart way to take a step backward, then you are pretty protected. I'm not lying to you, and you are not misled by me, right? So anyways, life has become what you call different when it compared to the Buddha's time now, then people have been pushed to become pressurized. They have the peer pressure. If you ask from somebody the first day, how did you smoke? It might be due to the peer pressure. If you ask the first day you got into a certain bad habit, it might be the peer pressure. So we are pressurized from the activities we are in at this moment in our world. So we are asked to become perfect. So at that point, when people are blundering in their activities, they may sort of go to that kind of idea. But if we understand the Musavada Veramani in a proper way, we can minimize that. How to practice Musavada Veramani? How to avoid lying? Is this technical not lying? So we have to find out how is it going to work. Say for instance, I always actually mention to many students over here on Mondays, let's say we are going to be truthful, but our truthful speech is going to cause harm to someone. How is it going to cause harm? My example is that someone is going to run because somebody else is going to attack that person, harm. And then this person is going to knock a door, nearby house, and then asking him, somebody is following me, can you help me? Then he says, yeah, I'm a Buddhist, and I want to help you. Nobody should do anything to you. Please come in, and there is a room over there. Go underneath the bed. You are safe. Then the other person perceived that this person went inside of this house, and he also knocked the door, and he's asking, was there someone like this came into your house? Yeah, I'm a Buddhist. I never lie. I cannot lie. If I lie, I will be reborn in the hell. He came in. I asked him to go to their room, go underneath the bed. Look at this example. Now, technically, we are supposed to talk about the truth. That means we are supposed to speak the truth by understanding the causes and conditions of that scenario. If not, you are letting people kill other people. That is number one. So, speaking the truth is not always reporting the truth like in the media. That's what media does. Sometimes they don't censor. Whatever their correspondents found out, they immediately putting them on TV. They don't understand what is the ripple effect, harmful effect. So, we have to practice Musavada by understanding the effects of our speaking the truth. So, in the event of not speaking the truth, what are we supposed to do? Let's say now I understand, somebody understand, I cannot speak the truth. What should I do? I have to be smart. That's why I say you have to practice Dhamma smartly, not hard. Practice Dhamma smart. How to practice Dhamma smart at that point? You perhaps change the topic of the conversation. You are doing that. You are doing for unnecessary things. Do it to protect your virtuous life. That's number one. Second thing is that you may walk away from the conversation sometime, right? You can do a lot of things, but the worst case scenario could be to say something that didn't happen, but you had the intention. But white lies are not encouraged. Because when you speak the white lie, you will become a professional liar at a certain point. Because it's better to be out of that zone. But you understand, you can't walk away, you can't change the topic, this person is so smart, smarter than me. And then you have to do something for that, because you understand that. But one day, you have to tell the truth. I did this because I wanted to protect that person. So if we understand this kind of nature of speaking the truth, then we can address those issues. Would you mind telling the issues part of the Musavada?
Yeah, under Musavada, this is the white lies.
White lies we discussed.
Yes, if a person in a company, they have to say good things about the company, even if it is not true. And they have to say that they're enjoying a good time, even if they're not enjoying a good time, because society expects them to be like that when you post things on the social media. And, so how do you see all this? Yes.
Yeah, I think showing a different picture than what you are really going through. You may have to do it just because you have to show your professional standards, right?
Yeah.
Yes, but if you learn Buddhism more and more, you will understand you don't have to. You become yourself, right? You don't have to. You don't have to create that life. Perhaps you are understanding. You are creating an understanding in behaving differently. We don't have to be like other people all the time. We don't have to go with the flow all the time, right? Other people might say you are such an abnormal guy, but there are times you create your own happiness by going to your own parameters, depending on the place. It might be different. So maintain your professional standards, not become a culprit of musavada.
But Bhante, very often it's like advertisement. You always have to present a good picture. If I can tell a little story, Bhante, there was this guy living in heaven, and he was sitting on a cloud. For the last 500 years, he was playing his harp and listening to organ music every day in heaven, sitting on his cloud. So after 500 years, he got a little tired. So he spoke to the guardian of heaven. He says, is it possible if I go down and check what's happening in hell? And the guardian says, well, suit yourself. So, phew, he was in hell. And you know what is happening in hell? They seem to having a great time. They're having party. And there are women in bikinis and all that. He said, wow, they're having a great time in hell. So he went back to the heaven, to the guardian, and said, is it possible for me to land up in hell? Because they seem to having a much better time than what I'm having in heaven. So the angel says, suit yourself. And when that happens, he found himself in a big cauldron of oil burning inside, and they're poking him with spears. And they say, hey, wait a minute, what about the parties that you're all having? They say, oh, no, that was our advertisement.
So, yes. Yeah, true.
So you have to be careful. Advertisement, telling the things beyond just to attract you, just to make you buy things.
I think people do it different. Say, for instance, they take a picture. Someone takes a picture, and then they filter the picture and they post it.
Yeah.
It's not the true picture. They filter it, and then we understand this person is happy about oneself. Right? I think social media is good in a way because people they generalize their self-worth through the social media. So there are many ways to look at it, but never become the victim of those things.
Of lying. Yeah. There's one question about the fifth precept, Bhante. This is like about liquor consumption. Actually, liquor is consumed as part of dining, like fine dining. You match the wine with the food, fine dining. You pay a lot of money for that as well. Or in social networking, where there is always some kind of liquor down there. In some cases, liquor is also used in medicine. Now, some teachers, they advocate you have to be a total teetotaler. That means you don't even take a drop of liquor. They're very strict in that. No drop of liquor. And but how does a Buddhist living in a corporate life handle the issue of liquor consumption?
I think there is no issue. Those teachers have not read the text properly. There is no issue because, say for instance, Surameria precept. Where do we find out? Buddha said that you have to completely avoid intoxicants. You go to Mangala Sutta, Majja Panacha Sanyamo. You should have your calmness in your intoxicant activities. But let's look at Surameria's actual meaning. What does it say? Sura means fermented food and beverages. Merya means distilled food and beverages. We know through fermentation, there are lots of intoxicants are being made, and the strong drinks. Sura Merya Majjapama Dattana Vedamana. That means you are understanding that when you are taking any sura, any merya, not to an extent where you lose your sound judgment, to be present. That is what the Buddha says.
The clarity of mind,
yes,
the mindfulness.
because on the other hand, we all are consuming alcohol, more or less. Say, for instance, you catch up cough at that point. You are trying out a lot of over-the-counter medications, and nothing is going to work out. And you see a doctor, and doctor understands. I have to give you a strong syrup, and he or she might be recommending you a syrup like codeine-based syrup.
Yeah.
And he or she is asking, you can't take it during the day. You should take it just before you go to sleep. That means the codeine puts you to sleep and then going to work on the bacteria or virus. So that means it's a drug, it's an intoxication. But that intoxication is not taken here. Now this is more about someone who is going to become alcoholic and then going to lose the presence of mind and then cause all the other issues. If you can avoid all the normal alcohol, it's good. There's no harm, right? But as you said, social gatherings, and you have to maintain your relationships with other people, your work. But even at that time, you are trying to become the lowest person in that drinking. You know your level, right? So that is what we have to understand. Otherwise, there is no such place in the Buddhist Sutta text. You can avoid intoxication, not even alcohol, completely. Right? So this is what we understand. But if you want to completely go away, then you have to become a Mormons in the US. They can't even, they say you can't even drink coffee and tea.
Wow.
Yes. So you think about, is it going to be practical or impractical?
Yeah.
They even never let their followers to drink tea and coffee. Right? So Buddha is not like that. Buddha understands how the society works, not what he wants to say works, society. So this is what we understand. But don't take it wrongly that Bhante telling that we can have it the way we want, because this is something you have to understand with a sort of higher mind. It is better not to, but we cannot avoid alcohol, right? Because there are some food and there are some, even eating 2 plates of rice, you can become intoxicated. Because intoxication comes from alcohol too, from some fermented products. Even if you eat a lot of bakery products, you will also be intoxicated. So then we have to understand not the alcohol itself, fermented food and the distilled food, beverages, and how much. I think better we discuss about how much food are we supposed to consume. This is the most important, not that picking up one small thing and beating that. How much food, the opposite side of this Suramere is that how much are we supposed to eat? Buddha clearly said, how much are we supposed to eat? And you are on the good side of that. He said, never fill your tummy with the food. This is the most important thing, not with the intoxicant. Never fill your tummy with the food. Leave 4 to 5 morsels of food and drink water instead. Because thereby you are aging slowly, which is what everybody wants to have in today's world. If you look at any product, anti-aging soap, anti-lotion, the Buddha said if you eat less, if you don't fill up your tummy for every meal, you will live longer. But most people, they are victims of this industrial food industry, fast food industry. Finally, it is not about alcohol, it's about too much eating and whether they become obese or not. I think that part has to be discussed in today's world. Rather than saying that if you want to be a Buddhist, no to alcohol, and you are turning people off at that point, because it's not practical. It's an impractical thing, but if you don't drink, it's good. It's good for you. But I think you can't avoid products that have alcohol. Even a chocolate, even something else, even your food that you are making in your household, right? They are coming in, because are you going to check how much alcohol is in the consistency? You can't check that too. Anyway, better not to, but there are moments you have to keep up with the other people, but you should know your limit. You have to be under the limit all the time. So that's what we can think
Okay,
about.
yes. So you have to be reasonable about the practice.
Yes.
If you want to be a total teller, then that's fine. That's fine. But if you do want to take, you must understand your limit. Don't go to the level of intoxication. Yeah. So okay. So especially for people within the corporate world, so sometimes they would have to be, part of the company, and it's or
You
they
mean
can
addiction.
invent
Addiction is the problem.
addiction. Yes.
Alcoholism.
Not to the level of addiction, because sometimes people go to alcohol just for the sake of addiction. So that is how we can regard the
Maybe I
taking
would
of
add another
alcohol.
one point
Yes.
to that. We only talk about the alcohol part.
Yes.
What about the substances? You think about somebody who
Yes.
has a bad knee pain,
Yes.
and now he or she is going to the doctor, the rheumatic doctor, maybe orthopedic surgeon. The surgeon says, you have to do a knee surgery. But there are a lot of people in the queue. So you may do it in 3 more months in the hospital. But then how am I going to survive with my pain? I give you a painkiller. But then the patient going to the pharmacy, buy the painkiller. Later on, he or she finds out this is heroin.
Yeah.
Huh? This is heroin, because heroin can numb the pain. Maybe the morphine. But what if somebody is going to buy the heroin in the black market? Just to become intoxicated, just to become dissolutional. That is the problem. But medically, you may be using. Then you have to break the 5th precept. But they are medical prescriptions. These painkiller experiences. What if there is somebody who wants to kill the pain by taking so many insomnia pills? These are the issues. I think you have to look at these areas, but never ever become a victim of anything. Food, drinks, not even alcohol, become a victim of anything in your life.
In fact, even marijuana, which was legalized in Thailand, and of course, apparently, you can take marijuana in order for certain kinds of sickness, relieves pain. But people turn to marijuana as a kind of a recreational drug. And that becomes problematic because it is for the sake of intoxication. They take it because they want to go high.
Now, Canada did that 2 years ago. The Prime Minister did that. His point of view was that people are buying the marijuana from the black market by paying higher money. And he wants to stop the black market. But what happened? There were other ripple effects came in. Now there are chocolates with that.
Yeah.
And these children go and try it out. And then the US is very mad about it. You don't come to the US with marijuana taking, because we don't accept you. Because US borders are, US immigration is in Canada, right? We don't go and clear immigration in the US. US immigration is inside Canada, Canadian airports. So there are effects. So I think when we understand about this, then we have a very healthy understanding about alcohol and the drugs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I now open the floor for questions?
Yes.
Do you have some questions to ask connected with practicing the 5 precepts and in modern life with so much challenges?
I think there is a wireless mic she's going to pass to anybody who is going to raise your hand. I think there may be more questions. Yeah.
Any questions from the floor? If not, while you're thinking about your questions, that's a question.
Yeah, she has to pass them.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Bhante, for the...
Would you mind standing so we will see who is asking the question?
Thank you, Bhante, for
Yes.
tonight's discussion. I would like to know, by practicing Sila, how does it help us to develop our concentration and also wisdom? Thank you.
Very interesting. I think today's discussion did not go to that side because we only look at the challenges part. Then the importance of Sila goes beyond the challenges, if we know it. Sila is mandatory for the meditation. Without having Sila, our mind doesn't become concentrated. That's why one of the benefits of metta meditation as you know, is tuvatang chittang samadhiyati. Some people want to concentrate the mind, but they cannot concentrate the mind. They want to, but they cannot. They say, oh, I'm so disoriented. I cannot. Why? Because there has not been a certain sila practice prior to the meditation. That means when you, how to do it actually. Say for instance, now you take the precepts. Not you take, you renew, all of you, because you haven't broken. People who take them, retake them, they have broken, probably sometime. No, I'm just joking. So when you renew your precepts, not taking, not killing, not stealing, not sexually misbehaving, not lying, not taking any food and beverages to an extent where you lose your sound judgment, then this is a very strong foundation for you to progress in the meditation. Anapanasati metta. So that is how you are making way to the concentration. Because you feel, I'm a good person. I haven't done anything wrong. What if that today morning you had a white lie in your corporate world? Right? Maybe you misuse the government sources in the work. Maybe you wasted time at work. You didn't work properly. You wasted. You are supposed to work, but you did not work properly. You wasted. Maybe you took something out of the government office, public properties. Then what is happening to your meditation? It's not going to work. Perhaps you may have evaded the tax. Perhaps you have pirated other people's things. Perhaps you have stolen other people's digital things, and you reshare on your own. And this is happening, right, on internet.
Yeah.
You are sharing like on your own, but it's not yours. You didn't take the picture. It's not your writing. Then you are thinking, looking at digital stealing, digital piracy, digital stealing, digital ingratitude. You are not giving the valid credit to the person who really took it, right? So then, when you are not doing, I think I'm looking at the challenges and I'm quoting the examples, then what happens at the end of the day, at night, you are reflecting, oh, what a bad person am I, and meditation will not come. Bad things will come. So that's why this sila is very, very important for your meditation. That means samadhi, concentration.
So it's crucial for the practice.
Crucial.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yes. You have another question, please? Please introduce yourself and ask a question.
Bhante, I'm Yo here. Just want to ask this particular question. Now, due to modern living and more to come to future, the way people think and act may change a lot, and people may accept certain lifestyles. So in the event that we have anything that cannot be answered from the Buddha Dharma perspective, is there any framework, reference, although it's not expressly mentioned, but that can be implied as a guidance for us to handle and manage the modern living?
Ethical common sense. That's it. Sometimes you want to be a good person, but the suttas don't talk about you. You are going to be a better person. You want to be a good person, but none of the suttas are talking about your life. Suttas talk a very higher ideal, but you cannot fit in with the suttas, but you have your own good, greater good. Right? It's not because suttas don't talk about. Suttas are mainly about the social life in the 6th century BCE. So when you don't find, but you know you are a good person, you are not killing, you are not stealing, you are not doing any of those 5 bad things. So you understand, you have to practice as a way of common sense. That is how we are going to do it. Common sense, but ethical common sense. Common sense can go to the bad things too, right? Because I lied because he also lied before me. So we don't have to go like that, but you understand how is it going to work.
Bhante, sorry if I may add, but sometimes common sense is not common.
What is that?
Common sense is not common.
Sometimes common sense is not common depending on the culture, background, knowledge, upbringing, and things like that. So basically, there could be a conflict, just like just some of the example given. So you have to say something like this: in the event there are certain laws which actually contravene with our moral laws.
Can
Which
you give
one
can you
would-
give us an example?
Yeah,
Not
you
without
can have
mention.
4 wives, but don't know whether they can live in harmony or not. Well, if you are in a relationship, make sure you don't cheat. Make sure you make sure the harmony. I wonder whether if 4 can be harmony, then I can times 2 again. I can go for 8, so long as they are in harmony. But the very fact here is that while if certain laws were to agree, certain laws were not to agree, like LGBT, right? So is there a framework, a guideline from the perspective of moral law that to be a guidance in case there are conflicts within what is interpreted by the humans? They are coming out with their own laws depending on their culture and background. But if we were to compare to the moral law, is there something that we can cross-reference with?
But when you say we, I think you are asking the question not for you, huh?
No.
Right? You are asking the question for another religious group. You are asking the question for referring another religious group and also another group of people who look at sexuality differently. Am I right? You are asking this question about another religious group and how
No,
they...
not really, because I think in the past, polygamy is actually accepted by all cultures, provided you are rich enough or you are kings. But it's just that so happens that as time move on, and basically some give a limited numbers, all right?
No,
And
Buddhism doesn't talk about the number.
Yeah, no wonder.
Buddhism doesn't talk about the number. Buddhism only talks, you don't cheat on your partner. Don't add a S, plural S. But Buddhism doesn't talk about this number. Buddhism only talks about never cheat on your partner. That relationship has to be defined. It is being defined with the evolution. Now then Buddha should have told King Kosala, you are with Mallika, you are with another person, you are with Ambapali. So he should have streamlined with the King Kosala. He didn't do that. Right? So that was the culture at that time, and Buddha didn't step over to the number of people. And I think it's common sense to us, common sense to you, and to all of you, how you should view it. You come from a certain culture, we all come from certain culture, so we have our cultural barriers and we have our cultural obligations too, and then we operate within that. I think for the group that you are mentioning, the polygamy, I think you were referring to a religious group first, and then you went back to the royal time, regardless of what kind of things. What we need to understand, Buddhism is not understanding a number of people in a relationship. But I think when you have many people, you can't do it. you can't properly love that person. If you cannot love one person, how to love 2, 3, 4 people? Maybe a tycoon businessman will do that because he has money. But other than that, spiritually speaking, Buddha does not recognize a number. Kings did that because they had money. They did it. But I think it's better to keep the number as short as you can because then life becomes easier. Your mind becomes easier. Things happen easier, right? Otherwise, you have to check everybody, right, all the time. So that doesn't make sense. In terms of the LGBTQ thing, I think it's a new movement happening everywhere in the world. And we even for that question, what I think is that Buddha never understands types of relationships. This is the relationship that the Buddha is asking us to have, especially for lay people. So I think these are not going to really be relevant even to think about as a common sense. So there's no problem with that. But you understand how many problems LGBTQ people are going through. They are not accepted everywhere in the world. Canada accepts, you can marry. Switzerland accepts. US doesn't accept as a whole. Only some states accept. So the problem is, you understand, you can have your own thing, but you will have to go through certain repercussions for that. But Buddhism does not say this is bad. But you have to understand, if you go for a relationship, whatever relationship, there are certain repercussions, socially, morally, politically, coming to you. I think with that, one has to decide what to do. Otherwise, Buddhism has no problem with those kinds of things. So people should not hate Buddhism for that. Yes.
So it looks like one part will be on the moral side, creation of karma, negative karma, and the morality side from the Buddhist point of view. But then you're also dependent on what is the rules of the society and the country that you live in. So while from the moral side, it looks as if things are clear, but sometimes you're bound by the laws of a country. Some laws allows it, some laws don't allow it. So you've got both the legal side as well as the moral side. But what you seem to be asking is there some kind of criteria of judging things, putting aside the laws of a country? How do we go about judging whether doing certain things are fine, certain things are not? Is that what you're saying? Yes.
Basically, it would be that sometimes the law may not in favor. Now, I'm not sure whether this movie is true or false. It's a historical movie, and this particular movie was inside the ancient time during the in England. Now, before this particular group of people can marry, the nobleman must have a night with the wife first. So if that is the law of that country, then what happens to the moral law? Which one should take precedence? I forgot about the name of the... I'm not sure whether that is fictional or not.
No, this was a practice, I think, in Britain.
It's just that they want to insult that particular group of people who are already been conquered by... I think it was a Scottish group, and then the English, they have this law. Yeah, so I just want to understand here that versus human law versus the law of causation. In case there is a clash, which would take precedent. I mean, in our understanding as a Buddhist, even though the law permits, but what about the moral law? Even though the Buddha is silent about that, even in case the Sutta is silent about that. So how do we actually, do we have a baseline?
How to judge? Where's the criteria?
Implied teachings of the Buddha. Otherwise, the Buddha's teaching, even though it's timeless, evergreen, it's not up to date. It is not able to cater for all scopes of things. Just saying.
Finally what happens, you create your own criteria. This is what is happening. Let's take another precept for that, and we will then, we have only 10 minutes of time to wrap this up. Let's take the Panatipata. In some countries, you can hunt animals. So it's legally right, but it's not morally right. Right? You can have a gun and you can go hunt.
Right.
But it's not morally right. So what are we going to choose as Buddhists? Now I am talking this from a benefit side. You are talking from a disadvantage side. Right? You took the third precept. So at that point, as Buddhists, what are we going to do? There are things that are legally right, but morally wrong. So then we are going to prioritize our moral living at that point. As I said, it's a self-imposement. Legality is not a self-imposement. So you are going to subject to penalties, punishment and all that. So that is how we are going to look at it. This kind of thing. So you make your own conscious, moral. You're going to be as moral as you can in thinking about those things that you just mentioned. Okay, so we can take one more question. And
yes, we can only take one more question from the floor. I think for a brother who is asking about whether there's criteria, I remember that in the Kalama Sutta, the Buddha says you need to judge whether an action is beneficial or not, whether it's praised by the wise, whether it doesn't bring harm to yourself as well as others. So there are some kind of guidelines that's given for you to actually decide, and this is not really dependent on the customs or the laws of the land. But sometimes, if you live in a country, sometimes you do get bound by certain laws, and you have got to go along with that sometimes. Even like during the war situation like Ukraine, I think there are Buddhists in Ukraine, and when I think about them, how some of them would have to be conscripted to be soldiers to fight the Russians and to be killed, and they have to kill. They are Buddhists, they do not want to kill, so... but because you come from the land, sometimes you would have to do certain things that because, you're bound by the land or the rules of the land. But otherwise, on the moral side, you could make use of some criteria like that, like what the Buddha has mentioned. Yeah, you got basically also to look in the mind, Bhante, whether it brings you harmony and peace, or whether the performance of some kind of actions actually makes the mind feel degraded. You feel rotten inside. You don't feel good. Yes. Actually, our conscience is a good indication of whether our actions are wholesome.
And at the end of that Kalama Sutta, Buddha says that you have to think whether your new thinking is causing kusala or akusala. That is a self criterion. That is a self, whatever the things are happening, whether you are, as you said, in that particular country, you are asked to go and then, protect the country. You have to think that way. But sometimes you are choicelessly be in the situation. So you will have to do something at that point. But we don't know the intention. Intention is the most important thing. So the people who are joining that war, we don't know what is their intention like. Right? They might be thinking they want to protect their own country. But it is choiceless. Due to a bad karma, they have to do it. So we are looking at from many conditions, not from one condition only.
Or if you're in a trench, armed with a gun, and on the other side are the Russians, you're a Ukrainian, you either kill or you'll be killed. But you're a Buddhist, and you do not want to go to war, but you get conscripted. They pull you off the streets and send you to the army. After 2 weeks of training, there you are in the trench, having to kill somebody, and you don't want to do that. So that's really tough. This is when you have the conflict. One is on the moral side. You're a Buddhist. You want to practice your precepts. You want to have a peaceful life, a wholesome, peaceful life. But you're thrown in a situation in which you have to act, either kill or be killed. It's tough. One last question. You got,
we will make it to the last question.
One last question.
Yes.
Hello, Bhante. My name is Nathan. I think the Buddha focused mainly on avoiding suffering. So any action we take in our life that brings no suffering to ourselves or somebody else, that act is legitimate. I think even when the Buddha got enlightened, people rushed to him thinking that he can perform miracles. So when his own kingdom was attacked, they asked the Buddha to save his own kingdom, and the Buddha just remained silent. I think I imply from this action that there are certain issues where we cannot find any answers to whatever we experience in life. As long as our action does not bring suffering to ourselves and to others, that action is legitimate. Thank you. What do you think, Bhante?
Let's say I slap somebody, not causing suffering, and he slaps me. That's it. That is the answer. So it's not just by the physical feeling of activity that we have to decide. It's the intention. And plus the ripple effect of that particular activity. Just because the attack was not giving suffering, is painful, we cannot accept the attack. The attack is bad. Attack itself, an attack. It was intentional. So in Buddhism, I think one of the very easiest ways to look at these issues is that your intention. If you go to a country where there is a compulsory military training, for the young people, even nearby, neighboring countries. What is the thought of a young person who is given a gun?
A weapon, yeah.
Are they going to think that I'm in a battlefield and going to shoot somebody? Probably it's not the idea. Probably they are moralized in a different way. So I think it's not that we have to decide things from the surface level. So we have to look at what are their intentions like. That is the most important thing. So I think in all these questions that you see from outside, we don't know what thoughts were going in their mind, what thoughts were going in their intentions. Like the same example, the police officer has to go to a domestically violent house, and the husband is going to almost going to stab the wife. And then the officer is asking to put the knife down, but he's not asking, he's going to cause the harm. He has to use the extra power, extra force for that. But he's doing it, not that you are a moron, you must be killed. No, I have to stop this injustice behavior here. That's my responsibility. Like the judge who is sending people to capital punishment. So I think intention matters here. So without knowing the particular intention of particular people on particular events, we cannot give a specific answer to any of these questions. But we can understand what to do.
So actually it's looking at the intentions and the motivations, whether it's rooted in hatred, in greed, in delusion, or is it actually with that feeling of generosity, of wanting to help, wanting to benefit the others? So sometimes you cannot tell a thing just from the actions alone, but you got to go back to the intentions. What is the intention that have motivated that action? So that could be the criteria that in which you can actually decide. Yeah.
Whether your intention is wholesome or unwholesome. So this could be your self-criteria. I think we got to wrap this up. Maybe I will do the transfer of some merits and then you will. Thank you, Dato Sri Victor V, for coming over here and then asking questions from me. I think they were very enlightening, everybody. Thank you, everybody. So we are going to give all the good karmas to the departed ones who passed away in the name of all of us. May the departed ones who passed away in the name of all of us, in the name of Dato Sri Victor V and all of you here, may they be well and happy. May they be able to receive all these good karmas. May they finally attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. At the same time, may Devanaga Mahindika receive all these good karmas we've been creating by engaging in a very interesting Dhamma discussion, because this discussion helps you to find out the challenges and then how to overcome those challenges. We ended up with intention part, how to go through challenges with regard to the 5 precepts and how to overcome them. So may all these good karmas be shared by all these non-human beings. May they be well and happy, and may they also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, 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 sadhu. At the same time, we are going back to the first part of our discussion today, Kalyana Mittas. We need Kalyana Mittas. We must have Kalyana Mittas. As the Buddha says, we need at least 2 Kalyana Mittas. We all have one Kalyana Mitta at hand. Who is that? The Buddha. And we need to find out somebody. That's why having a Kalyana Mitta in our life is very important. So we are wishing, may we be able to be in the company of Kalyana Mittas till we attain Nibbana. Sadhu, 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 sadhu. Finally, may all the good karmas we be making today be supportive and helpful for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Abhivadana silisse nichang vaddha pachaino chattaru dhamma vaddhanti ayuvannu sukhang balang ayurarugya sampatti sagga sampatti me vacha atu nibbana sampatti iminati samicchatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We are also thankful to Buddhist Mahavihara for hosting all these events, especially Brother Leslie, for facilitating all these events with the group of people. Yes, Brother Leslie, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bhante, and Professor Dato Sri Victor V for this interesting dialogue that we had today, which I think is very relevant. It's contemporary because that's what we do on a daily basis, and how do we, marry the 5 precepts in our daily practice. And I think very good examples were churned out by Professor Dato Sri Victor Wee to Bhante. I think that must have been running through his mind. That's why he was asking Bhante all these questions. And you framed it very well as well. So we take this opportunity to thank Professor Dato Sri Dr. Victor Wee, and also to Bhante Dr. Chandima for conducting this dialogue session. Let's put our palms together and wish them sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We will have another dialogue session very soon. This will be the dialogue number 13. It'll be called Can Wealth and Ambition Coexist in Buddhist Practice? Again, Bhante will be a panelist, and this time the moderator is Dato Chalicha.
Okay.
I think you all also know him as well. So that'll be on Tuesday evening, on the 19th of November at 8 p.m., not 8:30, 8 p.m. We will make sure this time. So that's Tuesday, 19th November. So we look forward to seeing you all there on the 19th. It's called Can Wealth and Ambition Coexist in Buddhist Practice? So Bhante is the panelist, and Dato Chalicha is the moderator. So with that, we come to the end of this evening's Dhamma sharing.
Okay.
And thank you, Bhante.
Thank you.
Professor Victor Wee.
Thank you.
So, and everyone, there's some light refreshments if you're hungry, and I think some coriander tea. So, you want to take a group photo, Bhante?
Yeah.
It's a big group. Okay, let's try. Let's try taking a group photograph. I think we just have to move this table.